Hey, YouTube. Well, I'm sorry it's taking me a couple of days to get to this show, but I just got this thing where I always knew that I was going to review it. I was going to get involved in it in some way. But I have this thing about I hate to be felt like a trick, like a mark. This FX, now you got to go and buy. I'm already paying for FX and a host of other cable, which I never watch. HBO, they tricked me into there 3 months ago. I haven't watched one show on there yet. So I have a little bit of attitude with cable. But they're charging you $5.99 a month. So now obviously the $5.99 is just to get you hooked. So now you got more on your bill. But there's that. I got over it. Versace. Gianni Versace. I remember this story. I followed it like it was a Simpson trial. So let's talk about it. Okay, I remember this story where it's coming back to me in waves. It's very well done. I mean, it's worth $5.99 a month. But all right. Now, from the very beginning, something annoyed me about the way this thing went down in real life. Gianni Versace had this beautiful, I don't know if they call it a villa, Italian villa, but it's a huge mansion is what it was. But the thing is, it's set right on the beach. You walk through his gate and he's right where people are walking by and all the kind. That always annoyed me. And it turned out that it was dangerous. But I guess even if you had a mansion and if you had it set back and you had a yard and gates and stuff in the front, he would still have to come out at some point. Apparently, Versace liked to go out and get his paper, talk to his neighbors, walk on the beach, do things like that in his neighborhood. He didn't live there like a rock star. Anyway, so it starts off almost right away. It starts off with the murder. Right? They show Kenan and let's just call him Andrew because I struggle with that last name. Okay, they start with this dude, Andrew. He's on the beach. What's he doing? He's got a backpack, old raggedy backpack, with a fashion magazine, Vogue, and a gun in it, right? So they show him on the beach sitting there, I guess contemplating what he's going to do. He decides to go off into the water and start screaming like some wild man. So this is going to be a psychological drama. I guess since they're starting with the murder and then they're going to backtrack through this fool's mind. All right. When he comes out of the water, first thing he does is go right up to Versace's house. Versace has been walking around his neighborhood picking up his paper. As he's going back to his house, this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Italian mansion. I think they call them villas there. So let's call it a villa. Beautiful. All with Versace gates and all this kind of stuff. He puts the key in the door. Andrew calls out his name and shoots that man in the face. I believe it's 4 shots, but he rips out parts of his face. It's horrible. His lover is played by Ricky Martin. I got to catch up with his name. But the character played by Ricky Martin is his partner. He hears the shots. So he runs down to the front gate. One of the employees of the house gets there first. And so he takes off after Andrew. So he chases Andrew, and he comes very, very close to him. I don't like calling him Andrew. Let's go back to Kenan. Kenan swings around and points the gun in the man's face, but he sees him very, very well. He's this close to him, right? Maybe a little more. Gives a good look at him. So this dude's going to be identified immediately. All right, so the next thing happens. Shoots the man in the face. He's not immediately dead, but he dies very soon in the hospital. I guess so. They didn't show all the shots, but and they showed 2 in his face. Then we go back to October of 1990, here in my beloved San Francisco. They showed this boy Andrew. he meets Versace in this big private disco, huge disco. You know, Versace's holding court in the corner. Andrew just kind of barges in on the conversation. They say hello, nice to meet you, but he's persistent. He starts telling him all these stories. Andrew Cunanan is a huge liar. He's a compulsive liar. He tells extraordinary lies. So he's convinced this man that he is Italian or part Italian. His mother's a part Italian, and that he had met him before in Europe somewhere. Eventually, Versace invites him over. Big mistake. But he has no way of knowing. I guess he just thought it was a piece of trade that admired him. So Andrew goes back to where he's staying with this rich straight couple. Their relationship is not made clear. Andrew jumps into bed with them. So he's telling them that he's straight, and he's got this problem with, he uses the F word, but he actually is the F word. So he goes back, jumps into bed with them, between them, and tells them this story about meeting Versace, right? They kind of look at each other. I'm sure they're wondering, is this another story? So I'm not clear about how much they know about his lies. But there's a friend, this other guy who's infatuated with him, goes to Berkeley. He goes and tells him the same lies, right? They show us seeing him walking on the beach. Walking on the campus of Berkeley. And Andrew is telling them all this story about how he met Versace. And then Boyce says, "What wasn't it just last week when you told me you were half Jewish?" And he confronts him about all these lies. He says, "I don't know how to deal with you. Should I pretend to go along with your stories, or I don't know how to communicate with you?" Because the boy is a compulsive liar. He says in this thing, while he's talking to this boy who appears to be infatuated with him, or have some kind of relationship with him, he says to him that Versace has invited him to the opera. Next thing we see is him at the opera. He goes and I guess borrows a suit from these rich people he's staying with. The girl walks in on him, sees that he's trying on her husband's clothes, says, "You should have asked." Then she likes him. So she gives him a Rolex watch to put on his wrist. Borrow, fix him up. So now he's got something to wear to opera. Next thing we see is him at the opera, watching the opera. It's the most fancy, an opera house. Right? He watches that, and then after it's over, apparently Versace really did invite him there, because Versace and him are on the stage alone. And they finally start talking. Now, Andrew was just spinning to him these tales, these long stories about his family and all this stuff, all his potential and all that. Versace just kind of going along. I'm sure Versace meets lots and lots and lots of boys. So, it seems like they have a decent conversation. But he does actually know him. He has definitely met him. He lied about the first time he met him in order to get in his good graces. But this time they actually have met. They don't say anything about them having sex or anything like that. But anyway. Okay, so the whole reason why Versace is in San Francisco is because he's making the clothes for this opera that they're attending. He was a costume designer. He's a fashion designer, but he's doing a costumes for this opera. He's Italian, this kind of Italian culture kind of thing. And so anyway, they kind of leave it there, and they jump back to 1997. Okay, they jump back to 97. Okay, now they're back into the murder scene, right? I remember following the show. As it turns out, I was in San Quentin. Remember it well. San Quentin State Prison. And so I didn't have the I couldn't just control the big television in the room place where we were kept. So I could just get what I could get from the story, but I was very intensely interested in it. Such a sad story. I mean, Versace had accomplished so much. Here, this homeless bum comes and kills this man for no reason. It's a horrible story. Okay, so we're back now. The lover is in tears. Okay, they're showing us again that he hears the shots. And the employee gets there. They're showing the whole thing about how the employee chases him down and sees his face and things like that, right? Okay. Cananan runs. He has to physically, this is not very well thought out. He has to physically run from all these police, right? So the cops start chasing this guy in the red shirt. Somebody told him he was in a red shirt. Cananan has bought a change of clothes. When they chase this guy down, it is the wrong guy. So Cannon gets away. Right. So he goes to this nasty hotel there on the Broadway. It's just so strange that Versace would be living right on the beach. I mean, right next. His home is a beautiful mansion. They don't show us the whole setup of the neighborhood, but this boy is able to run to where this place is. Anyway, so it's going to get more complicated because actually Andrew is on a killing spree. So he's left dead bodies all over the United States getting to Florida. Right? All right. So what happens next? Okay, so they show Versace dead at the hospital, pronounced dead at the hospital. I don't know why FX always got to have a little extra though. So they show the holes in his face and all that. They do that like 3 times. I said, was that necessary? But it's FX. That's how they do things. And this thing is done extremely well. This is good entertainment here. Even with this, even with what they're talking about, it's a horrible crime, but it's very well done. Because Versace just surrounded himself with such beautiful things, it makes it interesting. I mean, he was like a rock star of the fashion industry. Okay, so his sister Donatella Versace arrives. She's this grand girl, and she's a very kind of distant, kind of hard-looking woman. She seems almost like a gangster. I mean, in her attitude, she seems like a gangster to me. She's a woman who immediately takes control of the whole situation, right? She meets with these people. They were planning on going public with this company. This was Versace's plan. They would get loads and loads of money, but they are very extremely wealthy people. So she nixed that. Okay, we're not going to take the company private. He's going to keep it a private company, family company, which would mean her. As far as the Ricky Martin character, I got to get his name by next week. He is there covered in blood when she arrives, right? And then she sees him talking to the police. That's why I feel like she's a gangster. He's being interviewed by the cops, right? They try to figure out what is his relationship with Versace. He says his partner. This is before gay marriage now. But he's been with this man 15 years. The cops say, oh, so we hear that you will go out and meet other men for him and bring him home. And Ricky Martin character says, I was his lover, not his pimp. Basically, they had access to boys, and he would go out and get the boys, bring them home, which makes a lot of sense. Versace couldn't hardly be out there cruising trade and things like that. So Ricky Martin character would go out, meet people, bring them back to the house. So they're wealthy people. So, they got poolside with boys all around and that kind of thing. But the cops have no understanding, and they seem to want to stretch that out for some reason. You would think they would be a little bit more knowledgeable being there in, what's the beach? Palm Beach? The Palm Beach? You would think they would be a little bit more knowledgeable. They seem shocked that these men live together and they have boys. I don't think Versace was ever in the closet. I don't remember that. I don't remember that part. I mean, I guess to some people, but I've always assumed that he was gave most fashion designers, big ones. I'm more surprised when they're straight, to tell you the truth. Okay, so Donatella's taking over. She's kind of cold with this guy, Ricky Martin character. She's telling him all you had to do was take care of him, and you couldn't even do that. Like he was supposed to, I guess, be his bodyguard. That was his choice to go out there and walk to live in his neighborhood like that way. It was a lifestyle. The place when you come out of the mansion, you're on the beach, so people walking back and forth and all this. But I get the impression that he had more than one home. Maybe this is just a place that he used for several months out of the year. Anyway, they're very cold to him. She tells him, listen, you are not to talk to no police without me approving it. What'd you say? Talk to me before you talk to any more cops. So she's kind of got a little bit of swag to her. I wouldn't fuck with her. And she's quite beautiful and, you know, glamorous and all that kind of stuff. I assume that she's the one running the company right even to this day. All right. I think it's pretty much where it is. I don't want to go on forever, but this is a beautiful, beautiful set series. It's worth the extra $5.99 a month. I believe the way this is American crime story, right? So I think these are the same people who did the OJ story and then did the Menendez brothers. They do a crime, so I don't know how many episodes it's going to be, but I'll be back for every one of them. Okay, that's a promise. Y'all have a good day.